I am also frustrated in PhD.
Graduate course, right?
Postgrad means masters. We take
So most of them are free and take
take first year and second year. We keep taking and 7, 8, more than that. PhD students are also.
and we must encourage them to go up and see what is happening. What is their subject for
I
PhD?
am a civil engineer and then I have studied remote sensing in GI, satellite detection. So now my goal is to be use drones for
Here we'll be talking for people to go on the ground and see what is happening.
no, I am also thinking that this is my just third month, but I am studying a lot of qualitative things also like wireless C dot qualitative, and I like to integrate those kind of things. Like drone, we can get very high quality data.
But you still have to go and see what
Mhm.
is happening on the ground.
That's the challenge, ma'am. I am also thinking how to.
The, we have to integrate the ground realities in
With more monetization.
search micro and macro.
Micro and macro.
Everything together.
How long would that will stay in my time working in this?
Right from 1984. Before that, professional architecture techniques.
You are a
I am a civil.
That's
Actually, a civil engineer from IIT.
You are also from Mumbai,
Civil engineer. We are both from Silence JJ.
JJ.
Yes, and then he was 12. Then he both did our master's in English. Worked in US for some years, deployed, traveled. Then we decided to come back in the rural. So I'm two generations around you, maybe three generations. So we were working in rural, when we had urban, we didn't touch. Continue. For our own apartment, I have to go and check with some other friends. We have what people are doing, what people are doing, how it is so then migrating to the cities, if we can live like they don't have to consume congestion in urban area also will be less. So that is one very good thing that affects most of
So, lot of people come.
everybody work here.
Work, that's the main work. Education is for
So we are talking about how we can improve the real
so that they don't have. So in this last few years, like with internet coming up, internet and all this, have you seen any change like rural are staying rural? Because if they have yeah, some,
Computer writing, animation, and that is not all of them people in village are right now because of the
catching audio. Okay, we will talk later. We started. This is one.
Hello everyone, good evening. It's my honor to introduce Rupal and Rajan Desai, fondly known as Rupal Rajan among their NGO friends. Rupal graduated in 1968 from the J.J. College of Architecture, Mumbai, and Rajan earned his degree in 1970 from IIT Bombay. He pursued further studies at Rogers University, New Jersey in 1970 to 1972 while Rupal studied at Pratt Institute, New York. After working in USA until 1984, their growing commitment to energy conservation and environment sustainability brought them back to India. Over past 40 years, they have focused on improving vernacular rural building systems, creating disaster-resistant homes that are sustainable and affordable with minimal carbon footprint. And their works span Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Nepal, often flowing natural disasters like earthquake and cyclone. A key part of their missions is training over 15,000 masons to build safer homes using local materials. The Desai have authors manual guidebooks and educational videos in multiple languages, collaborating with organizations such as UNESCO, UNDP, and various state governments. All their work has been done on a non-profit basis with no monetary compensation. Their contributions have earned them numerous awards, including the University of Roorkee AS Arya Disaster Prevention Award 2000, at IIT Bombay Distinguished Alumni Award 2012 for Rajan, multiple HUDC Design Award 2016, 14, 15, and 2016 also. And Jamnalal Bajaj Award 2018 for their work in rural housing. Their journey is a remarkable blend of architecture, engineering, and social responsibility, inspiring sustainable development across communities. Please join me in welcoming local and Rajendra.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be with our students, uh, basically sharing something that we feel very passionate about. So let me begin here. When we talk of sustainable rural housing, here are two excellent examples of what something that can be sustainable. And that's basically defining sustainability. United Nations defines sustainability as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. I mean, this is something we keep hearing all the time. And to be sustainable, development should give overriding priority to meeting the essential needs of the world's poor. I mean, I think in our country also, this is one of the major challenges that we are facing every day. Now, just very quickly before we get into what is vernacular and all that, let's talk a little bit about rural economy scenario. Basically, we have two India. We have rural India, we have urban India. Rural is still 65%, maybe it's slowly decreasing, but it's still very, very big. And rural economy is predominantly agrarian, with more than 70% who are agriculturists, full-time or part-time. And basically, rural economy doesn't produce enough jobs to cater to all the rural population. Now, this is resulting into permanent or seasonal migration from rural areas to urban areas or from one rural area to the other area. And besides the agri products and human workforce, rural areas have limited things to export to the urban centers. Now, against this, over last 50, 60 years, more and more products from the urban areas are getting into the rural areas. And this is basically leading to the flowing out of whatever limited resources the rural areas have to the urban areas, and essentially, resulting into ever increasing poverty. Right? Now, housing historically and even around the world has been a big producer of jobs and also a big generator economy. Now, in the rural areas, this attribute of housing is getting rapidly eroded because of the entry of the non-local building materials, building technologies, the external influence. And this erosion really needs to be stopped so that the potential of the housing in providing, the local jobs and local economy and the self-sustaining housing to the people, that can be restored. Basically, this is what is in line with what was Gandhi's, ground Swaraj, that the rural areas themselves become self-sufficient. And housing is one of the things which it was and it can be. Now, let's just quickly look at some of the numbers of the housing scenario. We have about 1.45 billion people, slowly increasing. So, roughly, it's 290 million households, and if you go with 65%, then 109 million households in rural areas, and so 190 million houses approximately. So it will be safe to assume that 100% of them are what we call people engineered, because there are practically no engineers in the rural area. They all concentrate in the urban centers. And it will be safe to assume that 80% of them are vernacular. All right? And I'll come to what is vernacular, which with the number adds up to like 150 million vernacular houses which are made from local materials, correct? The problem, like I just mentioned earlier, that this is fast changing, it's fast decreasing. Right? Right in front of our eyes over the last 30, 40 years, we have seen major changes happening. So what is vernacular in connection with buildings? We always talk about vernacular languages. So this is something that is rooted locally, like languages are rooted locally, right? And these are essentially people-engineered buildings built by the people, without any architects, without any engineers, using traditional building technologies, right? Which are rooted right in a particular area. Right? So vernacular architecture is an architectural style which essentially meets the local needs and uses local construction materials, and basically it reflects the local traditions. Each area has different lifestyle, different traditions, and all these things are interwoven into vernacular housing. Right? And this is something which hasn't happened all of a sudden. This has happened over generations. And as a result, over the generations, it has gotten optimized for a given context. Now, when I'm saying context, you take a small example, say, for example, Gujarat state, a very small state. But even a small state like that, if you look at the coastal area, the hill areas, the desert areas, the northern semi-arid areas, each area has its own peculiar architecture, the construction style, which is the vernacular style. Correct? So here are some of the examples of what people have been building for generations. In Kutch, Bunga, of course, we hear so much about that, the earthen buildings. But at the same time, up in Himachal Pradesh in Spiti, which is a high altitude desert, you have once again fantastic example of urban houses. And why? Because earth is available right there. You don't have to go too far. So it's basically earth with some timber and some local vegetation. You go to Kashmir, in the valley of Kashmir, basically, the Srinagar and a lot of the other towns all around, it's all bricks in mud mortar. All right. Why bricks? Because the soil in that valley is just perfect for making bricks. But in the same state, you go up in the hills, the bricks disappear, and what you have is stone and timber. All right? Because that's what you find everywhere. All right? You go up in Uttarakhand, it's stone for roof and stone for walls. Same as in Himachal Pradesh, a lot of it. You go up in Northeast, Arunachal is one example, but all the other states, bamboo and wood predominant because those are the most easily available materials everywhere. Pastur, find mud walls with clay tiles. Then you go in Marathwada in Maharashtra, which is on the Deccan Plateau, where you go down 3 feet or 4 feet in the ground, and you have basalt, fantastic wall construction material. So you have stone houses, all built in mud mortar, and roof also, which is essentially mud roof, but with timber. And interestingly, even today, you find lifeline building, which are essentially the government building. It can be panchayat ghar, it can be police station, it can be primary healthcare center, which are still made of these local materials and local systems. So let's look at now the problem. It's interesting thing is that vernacular systems are not static. I mean, even over the last millennia, they have evolved, right? I'm sure during the 1,000 years, changes did take place. There may be some decades that the climate may have changed, that vegetation may have changed, that may have affected the designs of the systems. So since these systems are based on the ease of access to the materials, what is most easily available, right? And also the ease of replication. Right? I mean, there are a lot of technologies which people in the cities want to take to the villages, thinking that they are great. But the question is whether can they be replicated in that location, right? So ease of access to materials and ease of replication. If there is any change in the situation, then that can affect the change in the system. And I'll come to what I mean by change in the system in the situation. But the thing is that there are a lot of things which happens which are beyond the control of people. Like today, today we are witnessing climate change. And I think last 5 or 6 years, the kind of rain that we've been observing and rain even in the desert areas, I mean like Middle East, which where practically it never rained. And that's why we're all mud buildings. Like even I showed the house up in Loud City, which is all very dry and barren. And now that's changing. So what's going to happen in the decades to come? I mean, the kind of houses that have been building for centuries, what will happen to that? So this is something which is beyond what people can do. So this is the evolutionary process. All right. Now let's look at some important facts and figures about the vernacular building. Number one, they are part of the the cultural heritage. Right? Just like the language, the food, even the dress. Today, of course, it's all what we wear is sort of becoming universal. But going back 30, 40, 50 years, still the local way, the way people dress was very, very, very vernacular. Interestingly, in the European countries, in the Latin American countries, the vernacular systems are still very much alive and people are proud of them. Now, also historically, even in our country, we have seen, and I'm sure all of you have seen in the villages, where people were building houses which easily last for 100 years. Right? Today, it's something that's unthinkable because things are dramatically different in the urban areas, where something that is 30 years old and people think, okay, the life is over, we go for redevelopment. Right? And as I mentioned earlier, they use local skills and the most easily available materials from the surroundings. They're easy to build and maintain. That's another very important thing. The technologies are very easy to control, very easy to look after these houses. They don't require outside experts. Experts are right there. The materials are right there. And as a result, the logistics are simple. When you have to bring things from far, the logistics become complicated, all right? Because you have to plan way in advance. How will you bring the materials? How will you bring the experts? Whether the experts will be available or not. Also, interestingly, the vernacular systems are more forgiving, which means that you make some mistakes here or there, it's not catastrophic. Right? And this is very important when it comes to disasters. I'll talk about that a little later. And also, with all this, these are most viable in that particular location. Right? Accessibility. Accessibility is again a very important parameter because that ensures that people get a house. Right? Because there's so much talk about people not having proper house and all that. So vernacular systems ensure that people get the house that they need. So it's all that it results into what you can call as a self-sufficiency in any particular area when it comes to house. Right? Some more facts. A vernacular building system can have what's called the local economy component as high as 75%. What is local economy component? You build a house of say 1 lakh rupees. How much of that 1 lakh rupees will go back in the economy of that village or that area? That is the local economy component. All right. And also very interesting is what kind of employment they can create. These two are very, very important. Okay. Because livelihood is the most important thing that everyone is craving for. That's how they can survive. So having local, the large local employment potential is very important. So the jobs get created in a variety of ways. Material extraction, with stone, extracting the stone from the earth, shaping it, carving it, production of materials, construction, and then maintenance. Each stage provides jobs. So now 80% of houses, infrastructure, buildings in the rural and non-urban areas, even today, are from vernacular systems. Right? So this is a big sector that we need to focus on. Right? Now, sort of getting away from the socio-economic part that I was talking about, looking at the environmental side of it. These systems have very small embodied energy, which means the energy energy required to produce these materials is very, very small. And carbon footprint almost zero for a lot of them. Because things are right there. They're produced by nature. You are not really putting in any kind of energy in them. Right? Also, the great thing about vernacular systems is that most of these houses you can easily dismantle. In urban areas, we see buildings being demolished, more or less. Sure, you can extract things out of it. A very small percentage of it you can really reuse. But when it comes to the vernacular buildings, you are able to dismantle them and you are able to reuse almost all of it. So that's again a very important attribute of these buildings. Even materials being local, they don't need to be, you don't need long distance carting, and which means there is very little pollution from carting. And also interestingly, the architecture of these buildings, the form, is dictated by the local weather patterns. Throughout the year, what kind of rains you have, what kind of snowfall you have, what kind of temperatures you have. All these things dictate the whole system, the way it is constructed, the way it is spaced out and performed. Right? So it's makes things so much better for people. And typically, we can say that climatically, they're very, very appropriate for a given location. So like in Uttarakhand, for example, they have stone roof houses and thick stone walls, and these houses remain nice and warm during the winter. As the winters are rough, they're very cold. Summers are not a problem, right? While it's Spiti, those thick mud walls with a mud roof keeps the whole house warm in the winter. So you go to Marathwada, where there are thick stone walls with a heavy, thick mud roof. Throughout the year, the temperature remains uniform. Right. So in summer, you don't even need a fan, let alone coolers or air conditioner. So this is a very important attribute today when we are talking about climate change. So this is green and sustainable for almost every region. All right, but there is a biased mindset within particular buildings. Because for civil engineering, like I graduated as civil engineer back in 1970, right? 54 years ago. And all I was taught was cement and steel. And maybe today, few more modern materials have entered. But as a result, when we come out of college, we are totally ignorant about all these vernacular materials. So as a result, engineers feel that they are not part of education, they're outdated, there's no role in the future, they're not modern. In India we are in a hurry to get modern, right? So from day one after becoming independent, we want to get rid of all the old things and we want to bring in new things. And the speed has increased in recent years, right? So all these things have no place in modern India. They are not scientific. People feel that, because it's not being taught in the college, they are not scientific and hence not worthy of application. There's no future, so they're not worthy of research and development. So over the years, the same way people have been building, there are signs of backwardness, poverty, and shame. Typically, this is the biggest problem, that in any community, it is only the poorest will have quote unquote a vernacular house. Otherwise, everyone is in rush to get a modern house. And they're called kacha. There is no cement, there is no brick, even brick with mud is kacha. All right. So the kacha, and that's why they're unreliable and unsafe. This is what the belief is. All right. So obviously, with all that, when the professionals come out in the college and they start working and practicing, it's obvious that they will not think about using these materials in their project. And that's how they get discarded. Right? Now, let's talk a little bit about the limitation of the modern building technologies, because it's all relative. Because the moderns are replacing the vernacular. And let's talk about the modern building technology. Is Pakka construction really safe and long lasting? Right? What is the ground reality? If you ask them, how can you be sure about that? See, typically engineers, we engineers, we learn all this design. So at the end of the design, we say safe or unsafe. The stress is, what is the stress level? If the stress level is less than, what is allowed, and it's safe. But in reality, ground reality are very different. All depends on how it gets executed and what happens. So there are a lot of different levels of safety. Now, we have stipulations of building codes which are very routinely violated. We see that all the time. And any kind of faulty practice with any building technology, it means safety and durability are compromised. Whether it is vernacular system or a modern system. But the modern RC-based, reinforced concrete-based systems, the problem, they are complicated in execution. Although to an engineer, they seem very straightforward. But if you even as an engineer, if you have to go and work and execute with your own hands, then it's not as simple as with things. Then it requires much rigor. And to say rigor means you have to really stick to what the code says. All right, you can't afford to make any mistakes. And the building codes, in detail, they specify how exactly this is to be done. All right. And the problem with the modern system is one, one bad joint in a reinforced concrete frame, 20, 30-story high, one bad joint can trigger the collapse of the whole building. So this is what I'm saying. The vernacular systems are forgiving very much, but the modern systems are not. So Pakka doesn't necessarily guarantee safety, and vernacular being simpler, there's a greater chance that you can have safety. Now, in the last 30, 40, 50 years, we have a number of disasters, number of earthquakes, number of cyclones, a lot of floods, and a lot of the vernacular buildings have performed very badly. Right? And this has shaken the confidence of the people who are using the system. So, that is basically prompting people to look for something else. This is, it just triggers something like a disaster happens and it triggers, thinking of people and, they want to get away from what has happened. Right? So that's how the modern building systems are coming in. That's one of the reasons. Now, I just have a few photographs of some earthquakes in not a too distant past. 93, what, only how many years? 30 years? Yeah, 30 years. So the stone houses that very, very badly. 99, up in Uttarakhand, there was a Chamoli earthquake. Again, the houses had performed very badly. The earthquakes were kind of moderate earthquakes. But, and the problem is that in all this, the stones were blamed for, or the vernacular systems were blamed for the death and destruction. Some more photographs from 2000 Kutch earthquake. That's the biggest earthquake we've had in the last 40, 50 years. And concrete block houses as well as stone houses suffered a lot of damage. 2005 was Kashmir earthquake. Brick as well as stone houses performed quite badly. But the thing is that these pictures doesn't mean that everything is bad. And there's some lot of good examples, right? But we need to understand, what could be the reason for so much of destruction. A lot of studies have been conducted. Since Latur earthquake 93, even myself have been part of some of the studies for government and for the other people. And some interesting findings came out that one of the things was that the most construction routinely violated the basic rules of construction. In Latur, when I went for the first time, that was striking. The basic rules of stone masonry. It was all 100% stone masonry, mud mortar, correct? And every conceivable rule was violated. Right? So when the earthquake happened, everything just came down. And there were no specific elements which would also make them stronger for earthquakes. Right? So, construction quality is bad, but then material by and large is not responsible. Because typically, the engineers, whoever came there, they say that it's the stones which are responsible. But that was not the case, right? Because that was, so, okay. Now, basically, with that kind of conclusion drawn by the formal engineers who come, obviously they will recommend, concrete and steel and the modern materials, because for them, that is the only remedy that they can think of. Right? But the basic studies and the past experiences and a lot of good examples show that, the safety of this disaster can be differently ensured if things are built according to the proven rules, which are already there. And dilution in technology should not happen. See, a lot of times it has also happened that over the years, some of the things which are available are not available. And a variety of reasons, also there are financial reasons which results into dilution of what is happening. But another major reason is that there was a time in our country, maybe 50 years back, when a mason's son was mason, carpenter's son was carpenter. So they were masters. They learned that trade when they were very small. Right? But then, since independence, a lot of new people have come into construction, and things are dramatically changed. And as a result, what masons today have not learned from their father but just on the side. And that's why, all this degradation, the skill and know-how has happened. We maintenance is another major factor. In India, we are really pretty bad at maintaining things. And but anyways, these are some of the features. But let's look at some good examples. Here are the examples from Uttarakhand and Himachal. This is essentially stone masonry mud mortar, which is timber inside it. All right, and some of these houses, the things on the top, both are 100, 200-year-old houses, which means that they must have seen several small and big earthquakes, and they still stand. So that's a good example. The other ones are, recent houses, but still you see the same elements in their construction. In Kashmir, again, brick houses, but they're made in mud mortar on the left side, and same on the left side. But you see this example at the bottom also. 180, 100-year-old houses. Again, they are also seen earthquakes, but they perform very well. So a lot of studies are being done, and these are the things which need to be understood more and be put to use. So, all right, some houses from Northeast, some fantastic. There is this Assam style construction from the Northeast. It's practiced also in other states, not only in Assam, but Mizoram and Meghalaya. And, so these are, essentially they have timber framing and really nice flexible panels inside, and some fancy buildings are there. Also, some common people's houses are there. Very lightweight and very ductile. Some more examples. Now in Sikkim also they've adopted the same system over generations because the same materials are easily available there. And very interestingly, in 2011 there was an earthquake in Sikkim, and it was a moderate earthquake. And interestingly, these kind of buildings performed very well, and as a result, the death count of the disaster was very small. But at the same earthquake, we saw a lot of modern buildings perform very badly. Right? The bottom two are the government buildings belonging to army. They're all designed, and I'm sure they're constructed as per rules, but still, see the major problem with performance. So the question is, what will you call pakka and kacha? All right. What is more reliable, right, for safety? So it all depends how things are built. And so vernacular houses also can be really good. Now I want to share one case study from Latur earthquake in 1993. About 55,000 houses were destroyed. And there was this program to rebuild under the banner of Build Back Better. This is a big banner around the world that after a disaster you want to build back better. So houses don't suffer the same result in future disaster. Now there are two questions. What type of houses are there before the earthquake, and what type of houses got built under that program? So it's very interesting that these were the typical houses. Like I mentioned, stone walls, there's a mud roof, there's a timber deck on the roof, and then top of that there's a thick layer of mud. I mean, some of these houses look like small fortresses, all right? So, but everything is local. So all experts are local. Practically, in some of these houses, you don't see anything brought from outside. I mean, the timber joinery also doesn't require nails. The kind of joinery you see there, all right? And in terms of climate, absolutely fantastic. Like I say, don't even need a fan in those houses. Now, what happened in the rehabilitation? Some classic examples, geodesic domes. Now, these urbanized and large villages, the villages were compact, and there's something really cozy about them, all right? People were living near to each other, supporting each other. All of a sudden, these little towns got built from the villages. And some amazing technologies came in. What you see on the top is a reinforced concrete box, right? The wall, the roof, everything is reinforced concrete. How do you drive a nail in it? Right? And the one at the left side, these are precast hollow core panels, pretty advanced technology. To build 100 odd houses, a big casting yard was made with a big gantry crane and all that. I mean, those days, only cities like Bombay and Mumbai, Bombay then, and Delhi, and some of these cities you see cranes like that. But just imagine, I mean, now it's a common sight, but in the village to build 100 odd houses. But anyway, I mean, this was all done with good intention. Everyone was trying to give the best that they thought was the best. Right? But the problem was that unknowingly, all this sacrifice, all needs of housing that the vernacular building technology satisfied, except for the earthquake safety. The focus was only on earthquake safety, as far as the village life is concerned. Maybe from a suburban life, it was all right. So all these things are the safety could have been brought if you have what we call the improved vernacular. The same Latur building system with some improvements can bring them all that they had plus earthquake safety. All right. Sustainability was forgotten. And there were so many technologies happening. I mean, see, one thing is there, situation like this, every donor wants to, there's like an unwritten competition. And every new donor that comes wants to, bring a little bit more cement, a little bit more steel. So, but that created huge confusion among people. They didn't know what is good, what is bad. And also the problem was that, okay, after these houses, when like 55,000 houses got built, what about the 55,001st house? How would that be built? Who is going to teach them how to build that house earthquake safe? Right? So there was no effort of technology transfer, right? No major effort. So now some alternate work some of us did. These are some of the houses we did. On what you see on the left, what you see on the right is very similar to what they had. Using stone masonry, mud mortar, having a mud roof on the top. Right? And all the comfort, and it had additional features to ensure that they are safe in earthquake. And there's a building code. It was done by the building code as well as the government guidelines which were already released. But it was not just building of that, it was all coupled with community awareness program, confidence building, and training. Because you take a technology to an area, it has to take roots there. Right? I mean, if you're talking about sustainability, then you just can't build few houses and get out. We spent 6 years there. Right? So how do you take, so basically to take ideas, to convince people, to sensitize them. We had public meetings, we had poster exhibitions, even students' rallies were conducted in schools. And one of the things we also did was doing some tests, what we call shock table tests. Right? So this is a table which is on wheels. The table is about 22 long, about 10 feet wide. And what you see is it has two houses built next to each other. These are half-scale houses. One of the houses is the way people are building, the other one is the way it should be built, with some, certain rules and certain improvements and things like that. And then a lot of shocks are given to this platform from both ends. And after several shocks, you see one of them is still standing, maybe with some damage, the other one is flat. So this is a very convincing way to show to people that, hey, if you're building, like Latur, nobody wanted to build stone house. People started using bricks and concrete blocks, but not the right way. So we had to show them that even if you build house with stone in mud mortar, and you build house in brick and cement mortar, but not the wrong way, that house in mud mortar done correctly can survive. So these are some things. Now let's see that. So this is just few glimpses.
Field and sheet table test show that to people that all types of well-built new houses having disaster-resistant features are stronger and safer than improperly built houses made of the same materials. It also showed that retrofitting does make an existing house safer. Use of such technologies could help the country save its scarce resources and reduce the misery and hardships in future disasters.
Right. So that gives you an idea. I mean, those were actually four different tests. The clips were just short clips for that. But variety of things. So, and just Latur was one situation, we Kutch earthquake, different place, but very similar problems, different, same kind of mindset that people have. So also in a variety of things in rural areas when we work, we also do a lot of testing for us to understand that they're using the same local materials, their houses have to be built stronger than than how that can be done. So we may make some improvements and we will do some testing in the field to get some better understanding of and recently for Nepal we had designed this stone house using wires as reinforcement because in Nepal the houses had to be built very, very far in the mountains where taking cement and steel was prohibitively expensive. So this technology, same way we did testing on the same kind of table building this two-story house, and this was then taken to Nepal government and it was approved by the government. So several hundred houses have been built using this technology. So simple changes are there, but the whole idea is that you use some, you try different things, use engineering logic to make improvements so that people their housing becomes better. Correct? Uh, okay, yeah, improving the skills of village engineers, namely the masons. Again, meetings are done to sensitize them, to bring them to the training, and then hands-on training is done. It can be done on mock-ups or it can be done on actual houses. And so there is a lot of learning for them. All right. Now, vernacular houses are getting replaced in modern India. Why? Because establishment follows the recommendations of the engineers. Okay. This is the first problem that the government has its own engineers. So they're not going to listen to me. They'll rather listen to the engineers. So establishment has switched over to the modern building system, even in the remotest corner. I give example of a house I saw in Arunachal Pradesh at a 14,000 foot pass. There was practically nothing around, and somewhere away there were stone houses, and I see in distance a brick house. And I wondered, and then I asked some local people, they said, Sarkari Makan. You go to Spiti, 100% houses are made of earth, and right in the middle of that, you see two houses made of concrete block. Sure, they are for the government. Why? When the local houses survive 100 years, why does that have to be? Because those houses, when they get built, locals are not going to be benefited. Right? Aggressive and misguided advertising by the material manufacturers. They glorify their materials. They never warn people about, they talk about cement every day, but they never tell people that once you mix water in cement, it has to be used within 45 days. Show me a single advertisement that says that. Nowhere. Right? So wrong things are conveyed, but that sets people's aspirations. All right, of course, people see this thing on TV day in and day out, and that also does that. Also, the hurdles of accessing the local materials, that has become a major issue because laws have changed in recent times. No advancement in the age of limitation and the old technologies. Vernacular technologies over the generations have evolved, but still, what the way they are building today is highly different from what they were doing 200 years ago. So every technology has its own irritation. Reinforced concrete has its own irritation. So is vernacular technology. And what is required is to do research so that those irritations can be removed. For the changing scenario, the materials are not available, what can be done? Right? Some research testing is required. Government laws, which compel shifting away from the traditional system. Okay. This is again a major hurdle today. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the society gives poor social status to the vernacular system. We went to Uttarakhand and doing some work in the villages, and in one village there was a beautiful old house, earthquake resistant, and right next to that was one small room for car. So when we asked the owners, they said, "Why have you built this?" He said, "For guests like you, this is built." Right? So I mean, for them, they want to give the best to the guests. But so this is their mindset that Pakka is there. All right. Also, interestingly, in a lot of these projects, the government compensation is much less for the vernacular or the kacha buildings. So people feel compelled that they are building something, and they think that somewhere down the line, a road is going to come and they'll be evicted from there. Then they would rather have a small house with Pakka so that they will get better compensation. All right. Okay. Yeah. PMAY, it's the most well-known thing today, Prime Minister's Awas Yojana. In our days, there was Indira Awas, right? So it's been Prime Minister Awas. And of course, this is a much bigger, much more aggressive program. Now, these pictures are taken in a place called Pench in MP, border of Maharashtra. Small hamlets, beautiful houses, all local tiles. Then of course there may be some mixing here and there, but it can either be made of mud or it's made of bricks, all right? And then in the middle of that, you see this PMAY house. Reinforced concrete column, beam, slab. Why do we need this? And a lot of questions are asked. Reinforced concrete house, will the roof slab be waterproof? Will somebody give a guarantee that it's going to be waterproof? How much did the owner contribute to complete the house? Because government doesn't give the full money to build that house, owner has to contribute. And what kind of debt the owners get into? A lot of people get into big debts. Right? Will owner have money to make the roof waterproof? And will he be able to find the experts to do it? How comfortable it will be in the hot summer? Legitimate question, right? What percentage of funds spent in this house went into the rural economy? Very important question. And is RC construction necessary for ground plus one, ground plus two house? Do we really need so much strength? Okay. All right. Summarizing tradition. Yeah, this is just summarizing a lot of the things I already said. Everything doesn't have to be designed by engineers. I mean, there are some excellent IS codes which we have been following, and anybody can follow this. It's what called the prescriptive approach. It suggests you do this, recommend. You just follow those rules and you can build good houses. There are a lot of good examples to follow. Yeah, like I said, the performances and problems that can be improved and it's can be taken care of. Yeah, I mean, they can be made safer very easily in an affordable manner and long lasting that they can build properly. Research and field trials to get rid of the age-old irritants. We've also been working on some, you try various things. Particular problem is that you do, you try some things and do some testing, and then you find out, based on all of the tests, that okay, something works, something doesn't work, and it helps get rid of some of the constraints. High tech is not necessarily the remedy of all the problems. What is important, what we believe is a synthesis of vernacular with modern science and technology. This is what is required. Cement can be used, and not against cement. And I think a lot of discretion needs to be exercised in using the cement. We don't use it blindly. We don't necessarily build reinforced concrete, for making only a two-story house. All right. Implications of loss of vernacular buildings, loss of local construction jobs, weakening our local economy, all right. Drain of local resources, loss of local identity. This is another very big thing. That each place has, they go to Himachal Pradesh or the houses with slate roofs. That's their pride, right? In Marathwada, when we were working, what was being built was a pride, and then all of a sudden it's taken away because of ignorance, loss of income and employment. And also very interesting, tourism protection. The traditional vernacular houses are fantastic tourism. And a lot of, we were in Sikkim after the Sikkim earthquake of 2011, and the government was hell bent on giving everyone a reinforced concrete house. Now there were some areas in the state where people said that we don't want that. because we have homestay, and foreigners come and stay in our place because we have nice traditional houses. So tourism potential is something that is to be exploited with vernacular. Increasing carbon footprint and impact on climate change, major concern. I mean, for us, the life is almost over. For you guys, the life is beginning. It's scary. The way, every day, I mean, on Instagram, every day you see things being flooded, right? And it's scary. So, all right. Increasing water footprint, that's something else. Water is life. And I mean, the water access to water is also becoming more and more difficult day by day. So any kind of technology that uses water footprint, right? That is a parameter that we need to think of, all right? Suitably oriented and knowledgeable engineer can help this reverse the trend. That's why I'm here, guys. We feel that we need to change the mindset, all right? Okay. Outcome of the recent transformations in building systems. Yeah, obviously they become more technology, more expensive technologies are becoming mainstay. Yeah, local employment is reducing, carbon footprint is increasing, we already talked about it. People are losing control over the technology. That is a very, very important factor. Something happens far away, and all of a sudden the cement prices will go up, the steel prices will go up. You have nothing to do with it. Now, if you're using vernacular buildings, nothing will happen there. The price is not going to change. Right? So this is, people who are in the urban areas, who are into this global economy, to them it doesn't make much difference. But to the rural people, it makes a huge difference. Yeah, irritants of the modern technologies are being accepted and underplayed. I mean, I work in Rupal, we lived in a village in South Gujarat for 3 years. We had a pucca house, that we had rented. But in monsoon, the water dripped from everywhere. And I mean, we had to really look for a place which would be guaranteed dry to keep our papers. But it's accepted. Barish girega to pani aayega. It's like the road breaks, and too much rain, obviously the road will break. Not necessary. If things are done properly, they don't have to break, right? Yeah, okay. Wrong use of modern technologies, which is actually leading to vulnerability and shortened life. Like I said earlier, today, 30, 35 years, and people say, okay, now the life of the building is over, let's demolish it. Absurd. That means more carbon footprint, right? And more climate change. So, it's all a vicious cycle we are getting into. All right. So, as a result of this shift, we are gradually replacing diverse, affordable, and sustainable buildings by monotonous, unaffordable, and unsustainable ones from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. I mean, same monotonous boxes are coming up. Maybe architecturally, you'll do some beautification of it, but the boxes are still same. All right, so today's need is to take the traditional building system forward, all right, and tackle the age of inheritance by research and development on them, improve the performance through synthesis of modern technologies and science, bring modern touch to building. Yeah, see, this is something else. Typically people who are living in a vernacular building are not able to think that they can have all the modern facilities even in a vernacular building. In Europe, for example, you have 200-year-old houses. Inside things are changed to some extent, right? And all modern facilities are brought in. So this whole mindset needs to be changed, and we need to demonstrate that even in a house that is made with stone and mud, and with mud liquid on the wall, still you can have all kinds of modern facilities that you want. Right? So rebuilds people's confidence as well as that of establishment. I think first the establishment needs to be confident, then people will come in line. Bring back respect to the vernacular options. Convince the government institutions to integrate vernacular building systems in their infrastructure and development projects. Right. This is a very, because if the government will do something, then people will also think that, hey, that's the right thing. But right now the government is getting rid of the vernacular buildings. Obviously, People will do exactly that. Build government capacity to adapt to the change. Build local capacities for adopting the improved rural system. Obviously, people have to be educated about the improved building system that it comes in. Masons, carpenters, they have to be trained to build. And we believe that IIT has a major role to play. That's why we are here. Right? And changing the government policies and law. This whole thing about kacha pakka. This is very much Indian subcontinent. You go to Pakistan, you go to Nepal, you go to Sikkim. This whole kacha pakka thing is right here. I mean, you go to United States, in Southwest United States, the richest person is a mud house. Right? I mean, 40 years back, we had seen $1 million mud houses. That $1 million must be even $10 million mud houses. So the whole thing is that we get rid of this kacha pakka and we need to talk about hazard resistant, hazard vulnerable, long lasting. I mean, if reinforced concrete is not long lasting, then we need to look for something else, isn't it? Right? Bring clarity in the laws that apparently restrict the use of local materials, right? Due to misinterpretation. Like, I mean, we've been exposed, we lived in Uttarakhand, like a house there, a mud house. And I mean, you could not cut your own tree. Right on the land, you have a tree, you were cut for some reason. No, you have to go to forest officer, which means then you have to do it right. So, these laws need to be straightened out so they become people friendly. Simplify the process of permission for the use of local materials, especially for vernacular construction. So, especially if you're doing vernacular construction, then I mean, in Uttarakhand, you can't extract stones. Because there is a law that says you will not touch the stone. You can bring the bricks from outside, something that is so polluting, and then you burn so much diesel to bring it, but you can't take out the local stones. Right? Ensure easy access to forest products, including timber, for local building construction and vernacular housing. Again, outside Uttarakhand, that there's a lot of timber, a lot of pine, which is not a great timber, but still, it's useful. All that goes down to the border of Uttarakhand and UP, and from there to the rest of the country. Auctioning happens there, people don't get anything. So, and that affects people. People that want to get away from timber roof and go for reinforced concrete slab, even though it may be too cold. But with the harvesting and use of timber on one's own land, which I was saying earlier. Promotion of cultivation of bamboo is decentralized treatment and its use in residential building. I mean, of course, we have bamboo experts sitting right here, but it's a fantastic material and so much can be done. But I think that's where we need to, I think IIT has a role to play in getting government to change this policy. They don't listen to people like me, all right? So, okay, I think the last one here, vulnerability reduction, yeah, all right. Vulnerability reduction of the existing vernacular building. See, people, well, like I mentioned earlier, that people have been leaving vernacular system because something happened in disaster and they are afraid. Right? And we have seen people actually demolishing their existing houses because they feel that there is no future and they want something more. Now there is something called retrofitting. That is one of the shock tests. I don't know if you heard the term retrofitting, but retrofitting is something which is done, seismic retrofitting, to improve the seismic resistance of the building. All right. So the vernacular building is vulnerable to earthquake. It can be retrofitted very easily, and its earthquake resistance can be significantly improved. Right. So and that has potential to bring back confidence in rural people because the buildings will perform well in disasters. Right. So retrofitting an existing building is a small and it has a very small carbon footprint because you are not demolishing and rebuilding it. So the government agencies need to be convinced to reduce vulnerability of their own vernacular building. In fact, right now, and again I'll give example of Uttarakhand because I know that very well, that they want to demolish the vernacular schools which are made of stone and rebuild with brick and cement. What is important is to, with small amount of money, retrofit those. So one major step in spreading safety net over a large population at a small cost. Typically, retrofitting costs 20% of a new construction. Take the same building or rebuild, will cost you 5 times. So if if like 1 lakh rupee, ensures, say, construction of a new building, that with same 1 lakh rupee, you can cover 5 schools with your safety net and retrofitting. So, all right. Calls for preparation of awareness, materials, and training and all that. I mean, it doesn't happen by itself. And again, IIT has a major role to play. Government must be convinced to play high priority on retrofitting in its disaster management policy. Right? So, so retrofitting, I thought, the last minute, I thought that I should add this as an element when we talk of vernacular buildings and preservation. All right, I think, am I done? Yeah. Yeah, there are some of the examples of improved vernacular houses that is in Kashmir, that is in Latur, that's in Gujarat. Thank you.
Also, use also, then
Yeah, please. Oh,
You can.
yeah, I can hear. Sure.
So my question was, like in small towns or in this kind of place, there are those who is sanction the things. Like if you want to build G plus 2, so they are mainly some electrical engineer. And our engineering education also, we what we study, like steel, concrete, and all this thing. But about this material, if they want to build like this vernacular structure, so they must need some knowledge also, no? So how to do that. So that's very much lacking. And another thing from the top-down perspective, the government have very less, I think, architects in their group. So if nowadays what happening is, if one want to build like this vernacular, that's the signal that he's a rich person because he can afford an architect who can design. So this mentality thing, and have you thought about all this? Like education one thing, another is not government that architecture.
All right. Sure, I mean, as far as education is concerned, that's why we are here. Right. We are right now teaching a course in civil and department on vernacular building systems. Because we felt, and fortunately some of the professors here also feel, that this education should be given to the civil engineers. All right. So this is the beginning. So I mean that is actually the first thing that is required is the education of the engineers who are coming out. All right. Because once if you have education, I mean if you have engineers outside with some knowledge of these systems, then things can go fast further. And see, lot of this knowledge you acquire while you are working. Because I mean, what we tell people is that when you go out, keep your eyes open. I mean, your mind should become more curious. When you look at a house, you look at a hut, rather than calling that a hut. I think you should be curious as to how it is built, what kind of maintenance is required, because that is where you learn. I mean, when we do travel, this is one of the things we do all the time. And of course now everyone has a phone. So taking pictures, documenting, go inside. Because that is the biggest education. When you are traveling, there is so much you can see as far as the vernacular systems are concerned. If you are traveling outside, away from the cities. And I mean, yeah, I mean, the government system, there are very few architects, you are right. But I think that, you are talking about something like farmhouses, which somebody comes and builds, which looks very vernacular, some, fancy architects comes and does it. But otherwise, in any given area, there are still plenty of traditional buildings which are there. I mean, like the other day, our in our class, we took them to Karjat, which is not too far in Maharashtra. It's about 2 hours from here. It's a town. And from there, about 25 kilometers away, we went to a small village where some friends are doing something on mud construction. On the way, all the villages had lots of local traditional buildings. Of course, you see a lot of new buildings also. So when one can actually learn right by going there, you don't need an architect. I mean, of course, my Rupal is an architect. But what I feel is that in a rural area, you want to build something, or you find an architect, who can give right advice.
Mainly, the government should start building with local materials. And what we are talking about is not earth, maybe bricks or maybe stone in their school buildings, in their panchayat buildings, medical facilities and all that in a rural area, in a small, apart from urban area, they don't, the ground just 2 story, people have been building, and they don't need RCC structure, they don't need parliament view. But now, the government has made it compulsory even for PMAY houses to have parliament views. So that's what we have to fight. For the ground story, 2 story, we don't need, and there are building codes also. So those can be taken. Because we see it. Because if they see government school building coming up, they will definitely start building their own house.
Now, the basic thing what she's saying is that you build a masonry houses. You don't need beam and column and all that. If you're building ground plus one, ground plus two, because that's the vernacular systems are like that. Or you go to northeast of Bihar where the bamboo is being used. That's a completely different system. Yeah, but also.
So there is a problem. As you said, there is problem with the vernacular building. That we don't see multi-story buildings from this technology. How can we address this problem? Because
No, see, if I know what you are saying. I mean, in a city like Mumbai, you have to go up. All right, don't have a choice. But the moment you go out, there is no need to keep going up. All right. Today, what we are saying is that even in PMAY, the house for a poor person, which is going to be ground story, or at the most maybe 30 years from now, that family has more money and they can add one more story. You don't need reinforced concrete house. You can make house of bricks, you can house make of stone or concrete blocks, whatever is there. But you don't need to spend money on all this reinforced concrete system. Right? So in small towns and villages, the question of going vertical is not there. In the urban areas, sure, we're not saying that we go with that.
I understand. Actually, I am also from Swaraj. So
Bring it
I am
to
also from Swaraj.
how?
So I thought about this that how to convert this vernacular house in multi-story buildings. What to do there? And another problem is with this is that partition problem. People don't know how to much repair this. In tribal area, their local people repair their houses if something damages. Like during the lockdown period, I was in Ireland. So the storm came and my neighbor house was destroyed. They repaired in 1 day. But in outside areas, they don't know how to repair the houses or small things changes. So that's also a problem with them.
No, I think the local people know how to take care of the local building, but if there is any outside technology that is brought in for them to take care of such buildings is difficult.
Like
Now, I mean, so one more thing that even the masons, if the houses are damaged, it all depends what kind of damage it is. Certain kind of damage they will not know how to take care of, whether you are in the city or in the rural areas. That requires special training.
I just thought that like my neighbor house destroyed. Similarly, what if that house was mine? How could I repair? I didn't know anything about it. That's that created a question in my mind. So awareness, like we said, awareness of additional things.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that is very much required. Today, for example, see, our organization has been training the masons for the last 20 years, all right, regularly. Every week we have a program in the villages. So a lot of such programs are required to train the masons, train the carpenters, so that they can do the repairing, they can build new construction also better as per rules. All right? Yeah, please.
So in the city like Mumbai, we live in towers. The tower is made up of some different things. Hello? In Mumbai and in tower. So that is made up of different things, not brick as well. Some kind of sheets. Wood. So where you will classify that material? Like it is, we have known that thing like it is brought from Singapore or something. But, please throw the light on it.
No, I mean, yes, that has really nothing to do with the vernacular systems. Right? That's a multi-story tower construction, which, like you said, the system is actually coming from outside because it is still yet to develop here. And I really don't know what I can say about it. And actually, I mean, this is because even I'm also learning about it right now. Okay. And I'm talking with friends in Mumbai, who are living in these towers, that the walls are not made of bricks, they are made of different materials, right? Because that material is lighter. And there's a tower 25, 30, 40 stories high, and you want to cut down on the weight. So walls must be a lot of weight. That's why the walls are not made of bricks.
Sir, my question is regarding scaling of like training programs. Are you talking about some training programs, sir? So there are some mechanisms like UNA and UVA. Through that we can, develop some course material for regional colleges. So have you thought something like that for the scaling of these training programs?
Not, yeah. I mean, yes, yes. I don't think. Alright.
So we are taking a course. This is C6101. Okay, this is undertaking this semester. So maybe any of you who are interested to take the course, maybe next year you can take the course. And we are also planning to take this forward to local colleges. This will follow. No, not. So this will be some other programs.
There are lots of literature. We have prepared ourselves in just 3 or 4 languages. We have prepared lots of literature on the retrofitting, on vernacular houses, how to improve them for seismic frameworks and all that. So those things are available. People can look at it. Whenever we have gone, like in Kashmir, we have medicine and Hindi, and this is for government of India. So they are recognized publications.
Well, a lot of this information is region specific, and a lot of them are general, that they can cover most of the area.
Thank you, sir, again for your talk. I have a few questions, and I don't think I agree with all the points, but it was really fun working. The first one was the general discourse that we have in architecture right now. I think we already asked the question about this. Was the whole idea of this debate of cement against vernacular. That when you see there has been any work in cement, or as you said, reinforced concrete, etc., it has been taken in a copy paste way, where they have been following the West. What would you say? Isn't it a time not just for local materials, or as we said, local artisans, but to see cement as an upgrade to vernacular? Maybe what we are missing is regional contextualism in the use of concrete, etc. So how would you envision this outside the context of rural areas, maybe towards peri-urban towns, etc.? What would you say we can use this material as?
No, see, I mean, I have nothing against cement. I have the problem is of indiscriminate use of cement. Right? So where really cement is not required, you don't use cement. And as far as the peri-urban areas are concerned, again, you don't have the pressure on land like you have in big cities. So if you're going to build ground plus two, ground plus three, then you can still adopt the vernacular system and modified vernacular system. Again, I'm giving, like I said, vernacular systems are transient. And even in last 10, 15 years, people like us, I mean, there's several who have been working in the post-disaster situation to bring changes, improvement. A lot of groups have done training and things like that. Government agencies also have done it. So all these things ultimately lead to, like you said, upgrade. Yeah. Sure. But I think I still feel that the essence of the vernacular system should not be missed because local jobs, climatically appropriate system, these are very, very important, parts of the vernacular. Yeah, and the load bearing system. That is the main thing. That if you are making small structures, why go for more complicated system? But like what she said right now, and which I also learned only about 2 months ago, that some of these 30, 40, 50-story buildings in Mumbai and elsewhere, the walls are not of bricks. Walls are something that I've seen back in the US, of that type. And she said they're coming from Singapore. Yeah, obviously, because that kind of the whole situation is different, the problems are different, so systems are also very different.
And we are talking about the other India. So,
62.
and we think that if we improve the other India, the other half of side of India, then we may be able to solve some of the other problems also. Migration and slums and all those things. Let the people be very happy in their own village, get the employment, get the income, get the education, then they don't have to come here in the other. So, we are all the vernacular thing what we are talking about is mainly for rural and not urban. Urban has its own different architecture.
So, so someone who lives in Uttarakhand and he does not have access to local timber and stone, what is the practical approach for him? Because of the laws,
See,
like
that is
they are
the
showing
problem.
us.
We have seen that typically, in Uttarakhand, we have houses with timber with heavy stone on it, and after a certain number of years, the timber starts to sag. And the person needs new timber. And if that person doesn't get the timber right away, then the only option that person has to remove that roof and go for it is focus. And that is what is happening. Right? So see, this is the whole thing that because of government laws, which are not right, people are being forced to do that. There, also like see, it's very interesting. You can go to a construction material shop and you can buy cement, you can buy steel, a variety of things. But for them, there are no depots where they can go and buy stone for the construction, isn't it? So, I mean, that's the kind of things which have to be involved. But provided the government has policy to do that. And, I mean, today I feel that considering the climate change issues and all that, if things are thought in a more comprehensive manner, then such policies can come in place.
And the IITs.
I mean, ultimately, I think in a place like IIT has a role to play. In Gujarat, for example, there's a college called SEPT. Okay, they're very well-known architecture college. So in Gujarat government, there is any problem, they went to SEPT. Whether SEPT goes about it or not. Okay. So here, I mean, IIT has the rightful place, and we feel that IIT can make an impact in achieving all of these things.
Hello, sir. Sir, so myself Joanne Mandi, and I'm a PhD student. It was a very good talk. I had a few questions. First is,
Actually, we have to take a class at 7 o'clock. Okay,
so sir, one is how down based houses. That is another initiative under the vernacular system. But a lot of diseases are associated with it. So can you shed some light on that? And just one thing, that confidence building demonstration that you did, was it under some specific scheme or on something that you volunteered for the awareness program?
Yeah, and I'd say as far as the confidence building, because we worked after Latur earthquake, we also worked after Kutch earthquake. So under both of them, we were able to get some funding from somewhere to do the test. Right. And later on, from Department of Science and Technology, we had funding for one project, where we shifted our touch table to nearby university and we installed it in a better way. And we conducted a program of 4 or 5 tests. So that was supported by the Department of Science and Technology. They have a division called Science and Society to do that. So that, then I really couldn't answer your countdown issue. I really don't know about countdown. But as far as mud plaster is concerned, inside or outside, especially inside, it does, people like it and people don't like it. Don't like it because of a lot of maintenance issues. But people like it because it poses creates a very cozy living environment. People tell us that in very cold weather, they don't feel as cold. Whereas in cement plastered walls will be much colder. So there you can have various stabilizers so that you don't have to frequently replaster the walls or the floor or the outside plaster. But I don't know anything about the counter. Counter is put in because it is a lot of fiber and it strengthens the plaster because of the fiber in it. But I don't know the negative side. So, yeah.
We have an online question also. Like, so as per definitions of census, Kacha house is considered as a temporary construction, and demand analysis of even PMAY was done on the basis of the census data. The second question is, as per social structure and psychology, housing is taken as a sign of development and prestige. How will we convince people to keep their house vernacular styles, and they take modern house as a symbol of growth, and in that case they would take a impression that they are somehow fresh.
I don't know, see, because that is what I'm saying here. That the modern house is the sign of status for people, and that is what needs to be changed. And unless the government adopts vernacular system in its own infrastructure, that will change. So that's what I feel, because the government does set a trend in the backward area, in the rural areas, rather than outsiders. So in a village in Spiti, if all houses are made of mud and only 2 government buildings are made of concrete block, then that gives a message to people, right? And whether people accept it or not is a different matter. But so if government also builds a mud house, mud building, then it sends the right message that hey, there's nothing wrong with this. In fact, it's good. And it can be improved. Yeah, this is what actually we have been working on last 30 odd years to improve the vernacular system. We have worked in Latur, in Uttarakhand, in Jabalpur, in Gujarat, in Kashmir, in Nepal, all these areas working on the vernacular systems and see how they can be improved. And maybe we need to improve only for the disaster because that's what, otherwise for the rest of the things it was fine. But like, for example, timber. If timber is hard timber is difficult to find, then how can you use soft timber? How can you, because like in Uttarakhand pine, which is available, although although there's a lot of it there, but people don't have access because of laws. Devdan is untouchable, right? Because Devdan is just like Sagwan, and you can't cut it, right? But pine is there. So pine can be treated, it can be preserved. I'll give you an example. We built a small house about 30 kilometers from Ahmedabad of mud. And all the timber we got it from social forest using casualty now. Alright. That kind of timber doesn't last for more than 5 years. So we on site we treated that timber, and even today after 30 years, still the same old timber is there. So that has given us a lot of confidence that yeah, locally if you treat, bamboo can be most easily treated. So I mean, and we have the Forest Research Institute in Dehradun. There's lots of knowledge. What is important is that knowledge should come out to the people, and the government should support creating local treatment centers, local seasoning centers, and timber should be made available rather than going out of the state. So I think that's where the question of policy. Information is there, and of course, they require some experiments to be done by engineers, by others, and gradually improvements happen. People see it, people accept it, and so some kind of testing you to demonstrate with people, and then it's a matter of time. So I think we can.
See, the issue is that whatever the government constructions, it is acceptable that constructions can be done. There can be officers who want to take a risk and want to go ahead and do such construction. But the major bottleneck is that you require this kind of construction systems in the schedule of rates, okay, in the rate contracts and everything. Like if you want to construct a mud house, right? If you go and check the schedule of rates, you will not get anything. If you want to construct something with bamboo, the material is just the cost of one bamboo, how much to take? Would it be 100 rupees, 300, 400? It's not there. Right? So these are the basic fundamental problems where the PWD people or the government is also handicapped. Okay? Because it is not in the rates, they cannot recommend. And because they are not cannot be recommended, architects cannot build. Architects cannot build because it is not recommended by the PWD or the engineers are not ready to sign. Engineers are not ready to sign because standards and codes are not available. So it's a kind of a circular mess.
Let me, and I'll just add this SOR in Uttarakhand, we had, when we were doing a study in a deep village somewhere, we were building a reinforced concrete school. Why are you doing this? The engineers designed that. Engineers said that I don't know anything about stone masonry, even though it's local. So we said that we have to prepare a stone masonry guideline. All the knowledge is there. So we went through that whole process with the government, with the University of Roorkee College of Engineering, or IIT Roorkee, where all these experts, committees and all that, and we prepared the stone construction guideline, official guideline for the state of Uttarakhand. Then we initiated this thing of SOR, schedule of rates. Because unless there is schedule of rates, government cannot do it. So, sorry. So even for, I won't for, even in Uttarakhand, where stone is the construction material, there is no SOR for stone construction. And we initiated the process, but then somewhere on the 10th, of course, we were outsiders, and somewhere the process disappeared. So we don't even know anything. There was a lot of red tape and things like that. Yeah, but SOR is the first step for any technology. Yeah.
So we have few questions, but I hope you'll be available later from now.
Sure.
Because we have a class, but you are here on campus.
For one more day.
In the latter way, have you seen any politicians using vernacular?
Well, we have Ronald Reagan, who was living in White House. Ronald Reagan,
Not in
US President. No, I mean, I would not make a general statement.
catch them and convince them and
You're right, absolutely.
And somewhere the solution lies in basic research also, okay? Because the SORs are not there because basic research is not there. And for that it would require more of you to take undertaken PhDs on this.
Okay, thank you so much, Rajendra and Rupalji, for being here. I know we are constrained because of the class timing that you have immediately after this, but I'm sure the kind of variety of questions that you got, there is a lot of interest in this, and maybe some other time we can engage and they can engage. I'll share with them.
I'm just hoping that we've inspired them enough to think about it.
Yes. And since Charu is here, he can take ahead kind of agenda or work.
Sure.
Right? So, as a small token of our appreciation, we'd like to quickly give a request Ashok ji can do the honors. Because he has also now active interest in this area of neighborhood. That's a course. And also it is being given to Rajendra. No, like, sure, it will come to Rupal. And it matches well with her. This is from Gram Seva Mandal in Vardhan. Wonderful. The small token. Thank you so much for being. We had started our journey from what 40 years back. Yeah. Thank you.
So that is because for behind every successful woman there is a successful, there is a very strong support from
She is a threat of behind.